So tonight's webinar is Emergency Preparedness and Response with a focus on all hazards preparedness. And my name is Penny Wyatt. I'm the Director of Parent Programs within the Division of Student Affairs at Tulane. And I'll be your moderator tonight, but I'm very pleased to introduce tonight's panelists who are my very valued colleagues. And so we'll be joined by Meredith Beers, who's the Associate Director for Business Continuity of Operations, and Donald Veals, who's the Assistant Director of Emergency Response Systems. They are both members of the Office of Emergency Preparedness and Response. So I will turn things over to them, and then I'll rejoin you at the question and answer.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As Penny said, my name is Meredith Beers, and I'm the Associate Director of Business Continuity at Tulane. We are so excited to be here with you this evening and to be able to welcome you to Tulane, as well as help educate you about how we prepare for all emergencies that we could face and how we prepare your students for those. I've been at Tulane in my role for 4.5 years, but also went to Tulane for undergraduate, graduate school, and my PhD. So I have about 20 years of knowledge and experiences with this great university. Donald, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Meredith. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Donald Veals. I'm the Assistant Director of Emergency Preparedness and Response here at Tulane University. I've been at Tulane University for 6.5 years in my role and definitely love it. Prior to being the Assistant Director here, I was in the Marine Corps for 5.5 years. While I was there, I was an embassy guard. So I guarded embassies in Managua, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and also in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation now. So we are the Office of Emergency Preparedness and Response. You see a wonderful picture of Meredith and I standing there during move-in. So our department basically ensures that Tulane is prepared for any type of emergency that may occur on campus. Any large-scale incident, small incident, Meredith and I will definitely be in the thick of it with our campus partners. Next slide. Thank you. So without all hazards preparedness, we call it all hazards because we utilize the same resources for all emergencies. And some examples are active shooter, biochemical spill, boil water advisories, fire, definitely hurricanes. And I hope some of you joined us for our hurricane webinar a couple of days ago. Pandemic, severe weather, and much more. The and much more things like large scale events. Recently, we've had a few power outages downtown New Orleans. So that's where it's the and much more. Next slide, Penny. Next slide.
And I forgot to ask parents, if you would raise your hand using the controls and on your screen to let us know if you did participate in the hurricanes webinar that we had on Monday. That would give us a good idea of sort of how much of some of this similar information you've already seen. So we're really grateful that you tuned into that one as well. So I'll turn things back over. Go to the next slide for Donald. Here you go.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of you who actually joined us a couple of days ago. Thank you again for joining us 2 days in a row. You didn't win a prize, but thank you for definitely joining us. So how do we communicate with families? We normally send major updates to parents. You could definitely log on to a parent's update page and sign in or sign up for our parent updates. Also, if there is an emergency on campus, we do have our emergency.tulane.edu website. That's where we post a lot of our long-term emergencies. We utilize this a lot during hurricane season as well. If you log on to that website right now, you're just going to see that Tulane is operating under normal conditions. But definitely, if there is an emergency around campus, it will definitely be posted on this website. Other ways, we love to post on social media, so definitely follow us at Tulane Emergency, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. From what my students tell me, a lot of the parents log on to Facebook and the students love Instagram. And we're going to try and post to both in the future. We've been mainly focusing on Instagram. And any emergency that's happening on campus, we're definitely going to post on Instagram and Facebook as well. So parents, please follow us on those platforms. We do have our TU alerts as well, and I'll talk about that in a few slides. Parents will not receive our Tulane alerts. You're only going to receive the parent updates that you actually sign up for. Next slide, Penny. Emergency communication. So we utilize a mass notification system called EVERBRIDGE. With EVERBRIDGE, we're able to email you, well, email the students, text your student, call your student. And what Alertus is a software that is downloaded on all of our Tulane computers. So if your student is in class and they have their phone on silent, they will receive that notification via the monitor that is in the classroom. So as the professor's teaching, our Alertus software will capture the computer screen and show the emergency that's going on at that time. We also have blue light sirens on campus, throughout campus. So as your student is walking, if there's an emergency, they can walk up to that blue light pole, press the button, and they'll be in contact with one of our dispatchers. Not a NOPD dispatcher, but a Tulane University Police Department dispatcher. Once again, it talks about our emergency website and also our social media slides as well. For Tulane University, their social media handle is Tulane U, so follow them as well. Next slide, Penny. Most common emergencies with students. So we will email their Tulane email account, so that will be their primary way of receiving any emergency information. So ensure your Tulane student check their emails daily. Once again, we love to communicate. We talked about our emergency website as well, the mass notification system. It comes through as TU alert. So as they're on their phones and they receive a text message, it will show TU alert followed by the text message. We also have what's called the EVERBRIDGE app. Your student could go to the EVERBRIDGE, to their app store and download the EVERBRIDGE app. It works for Google phones and also the Apple phones as well. So once again, with it, they'll receive alert through their EVERBRIDGE app and also text message and email. Once again, follow us on social media. Next slide, Penny. When your student logs into Gibson, just make sure they have their telephone numbers up to date. Make sure they only have your telephone number in there as an emergency number. If your student receives a new telephone number, please remind them to update their information right there where that blue arrow is, and put their telephone number in there, because that's where we pull all of their contact information from, the information that they give us. So once again, the student doesn't have to sign up to receive these alerts. This information is automatically pulled from Gibson. So once again, make sure your student have updated telephone information in their profile. Next slide, Penny. So here we have the EVERBRIDGE app. We also put a QR code in case your student is standing by you. They could download the app utilizing their Tulane credentials to create a profile. It's definitely free to students, faculty, staff. They don't have to sign up for it. Once again, parents cannot log into the EVERBRIDGE app, because once again, you have to have Tulane credentials to log in. With the EVERBRIDGE app, it has a few additional resources. One of the resources is Safe Corridor. So say, for example, your student is studying late in the library and they do not want a Tulane police officer walking back with them, holding their hand as they're walking back to their dorm. So what they'll do, they'll log in to their EVERBRIDGE app, set their timer for, let's say, for example, 10 minutes. Set their timer for 10 minutes. Once they get to their destination, they will stop their timer. If they do not stop their timer, that's when the fun starts. It will go into SOS mode. And with that, the chief of police, the deputy chiefs, the commanders of each district, Uptown Downtown Primate Center, the supervisors on duty, Uptown Downtown Primate Center, the dispatchers on duty, and also myself will receive a text message. With that text message, it's going to show their name, their telephone number, and their GPS location. With the GPS location, it's going to just be like a Google Earth map. So it's going to show that they're in a building, but it's not going to show what room or what floor they're in. Also, we have emergency call. If your student does not have Tulane Police Department number programmed in their phone, I have it programmed in the app for them, but definitely have your student download, have your student add Tulane Police Department emergency and non-emergency number to their phone. And then we have SOS, it's big and red for a reason. Basically means I need help now. A lot of your students will go to the App Store, download the app, and see that pretty red button, and they're going to want to press it. Please don't have them press it, but if they do, they have about 3 seconds to cancel. If they go into SOS alert, the same people will be notified. We're going to receive their name, telephone number, GPS location, but when it's in SOS mode, their front-facing camera will come on. That is a setting that they control within their app. I cannot control it. That's just in case they're in a situation to where they can't say anything, but we can see and hear what's going on around them. And if your student does play around with the app and they go into SOS mode, once I receive that text message, they're going to, Tulane Police Department and the dispatchers will definitely follow up the student to make sure they're okay. But once again, please only have your student utilize the SOS only when they need to, only during emergencies. If not, it's going to send a video of them panicking, trying to stop the recording. That happens a lot. And our students love utilizing this app. They normally use it between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3:30 in the morning. Ask me how I know that, because that's the time frame I normally receive those notifications. Next slide, Penny. One more. Part of training on campus, myself and Lieutenant Barnes with Tulane Police Department, we partner with the Student Safety Committee in bringing active shooter training to our students. One thing I did find out about our students, if you order pizza, they will come. And we will do anything to get in front of our students to pass on this very important information. We work constantly with our student committees at different campuses, just to ensure that we do pass on the knowledge of run, hide, fight. We will be planning a student safety day in the fall as well. So looking forward to that. Next slide, Penny. So the concept that we teach on campus is called run, hide, fight. I'm just going to go through it with you all. So run. Do not run towards the shooter. Do not wait for anyone or anything, and do not take your belongings with you. And when we talk about run, as I talk to the students, if I send out an emergency notification that says active shooter, for example, LBC, I tell the students do not run towards the LBC. They want to go to a safe area. They want to run to a safe area. Do not run towards the shooter. Do not run towards that location of the TU alerts. Do not wait for anyone or anything. We want the students to help, but don't waste time trying to persuade someone to come with you. So once again, we want to help, but not waste any time trying to persuade that person to come with them. And do not take belongings with you. A lot of times people will want to run back to their office or run back to the classroom to grab their cell phone. If you receive that active shooter alert, or if you hear the broadcast of active shooter alert, get to safety. Don't worry about your belongings at that time. Can't run. Next thing you have to do is hide. Hide behind or underneath thick objects. So we'd like to teach the concept of cover and concealment. If you think about concealment, a lot of us as kids, we always ran underneath the covers, right, just to hide underneath the blanket. That is called concealment. It will hide you, but it will not protect you from a projectile. But if you take, for example, a concrete pillar, if I take cover behind that concrete pillar, it's going to protect me. So you always want to seek cover over concealment. And anytime when hiding, you always want to be extremely quiet and not to bring attention to yourself. Can't run, can't hide. Next thing you have to do is fight. I wish I could see all of your faces right now. I would definitely ask, by show of hands, how many of you have ever got into a fight before? Let's do that poll. By show of hands, how many of you have ever got into a fight before? There's a lot of hands raised. And I think we have a lot of fighters in this group. I love it. You want to fight only as a last resort. You don't want to hide, fight, then run. You want to fight only as a last resort. You want to do it with a group of people. And the students always ask, well, what am I going to use? Use whatever you have around you. I know a lot of them have those fancy Yeti cups or aluminum water bottles. You can use it. A lot of times I tell the students to utilize fire extinguishers. We utilize those in the Marines for crowd control. You could spray the person. It's going to definitely distract them. You can use the fire extinguisher as a weapon where you can actually try and knock the person out. Utilize those objects. Take the gun away as soon as possible if you can, and fight like your life depends on it. And as we're teaching these concepts to the students, we're going to ask for volunteers and actually show in real time what does this look like. We're also going to include videos as well to assist the students in this presentation. Next slide, Penny. Crime prevention. So one of the major thefts that's on Tulane's campus is theft. It's sad to say, but a lot of times with theft, it's actually being done by the people that they're surrounded by. A lot of times with students, they'll walk away from their dorm door and they'll leave the door unsecured. It's a nuisance to carry your flash card with you at all times. We want the students to always be aware of their surroundings. If they're walking around late at night, walk with confidence, because if you look like you're not supposed to be there, someone's going to know. If someone grabs their belongings, let them take their belongings, then contact Tulane Police Department. Use the EVERBRIDGE app as well. Have your student know where the blue light poles are located. When your student arrives, I will, myself and Lieutenant Barnes will talk to your students and go over the same information as well. And I kind of went ahead of myself, but with the resident safety, we do have allied universal guards located in our dorms. But the main thing is have your students secure their items. Even if they're in the library, if they're going to walk away, sometimes students walk away, they'll get with friends, get carried away in a conversation, and their laptop will walk. And speaking of laptops, make sure your student have a list of their serial numbers as well, of their electronic items. That is something major. That's something that we noticed with AUTA last year. When some items came up missing, the students could not provide any information like serial numbers. And the main thing as well, do not bring valuable family heirlooms to campus. One of our students lost a $25,000 Rolex watch. They brought it to campus and they left it in their dorm room during Hurricane AUTA. We did retrieve it, that person was lucky, but remember, leave those valuable family heirlooms at home. Next slide, Penny. I'll pass it over to Meredith. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Donald. So this is New Orleans. It's a wonderful old city and it has a pretty old infrastructure. And occasionally our city's water system will lose pressure and Sewage and Water Board will declare that there is a boil water emergency. During a boil water advisory, people should not consume tap water. So if our area that our uptown campus is in or our downtown campus is in, it goes into a boil water advisory, we will send a TU alert. Occasionally, there are parts of the city that will go into an advisory that we are not in, so we won't send those alerts. Like earlier this week, part of New Orleans that's east of us was in an advisory. We weren't, so a TU alert did not go out for that. As soon as a boil water advisory is implemented, the Sewage and Water Board will send a sample of the water to the state for testing. And those state tests typically take about 24 hours for test results to come back. Until the city tells us that the tap water is deemed safe for consumption, then people should be using bottled water or tap water that has been boiled for at least 2 minutes for drinking, brushing your teeth, and preparing food. Service animals, emotional support animals, and pets for if or when your student moves off campus also need to drink bottled or boiled water. And then once the city has lifted the boil water advisory, we will follow up with another TU alert saying that the advisory is lifted, and then reminding people that all of their faucets and taps should be run for about 5 minutes to purge any potentially contaminated water that was still in their pipes. Next slide, Penny. So in a boil water advisory on campus, what we will do for our residential students is we will bring bottled water to all of the residence hall 24-hour service desks. And that's where if your student gets locked out of their room, that's the desk that they go to within their residential quad area. And then we will also deliver bottled water to other areas like the Commons, the LBC, Riley Rec Center, so that places that we have high concentration of students at a time will have water that is consumable. For students who live off campus, they need to be boiling their tap water for 2 minutes before they consume it, or keep a supply of bottled water at their houses. And the picture just illustrates, we keep pallets of bottled water. We actually did our inventory to see how much we need to order for the fall yesterday. So we do check this on a regular basis to be prepared just in case this does happen to us. Next slide, please. So another hazard that we prepare for are health hazards. And this is something that we really hope we don't have to use, but as we are well into the second year of a global pandemic, we have gotten very good at our health hazards plan. So we have a comprehensive health hazards plan that is scalable to respond to everything from pink eye to seasonal flu to global pandemics. And part of this plan is that the university has a standing health committee. Our office has a seat on that committee. It's chaired by Campus Health. Other members are epidemiologists, infectious disease physicians from our School of Medicine, student affairs administrators, representatives from occupational health, and then other university administrators. And this committee has been incredibly active over the past 2 years and has been really integral in helping guide the university's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Campus Health also provides the flu shot each year, and it's free to students. The Campus Health also spearheads campaigns that remind and encourage students and the entire university community to practice safe health, including things like hand washing, covering coughs and sneezes, and safe sex. So all of these things are part of what we are looking at, even though we may not be the guiding force behind them. Next slide. As Donald mentioned earlier, we have other things that we prepare for, and some of those are large scale events. So we, as a university, host multiple large events throughout the year that are including, but definitely not limited to, football games, homecoming, parent and family weekend, tailgating, high school football games, high school championship games, Saints practice games that are open to the public, baseball games. We have Crawfest each spring. Commencement is held on campus at Ullman Stadium, Book Fest, and New Student Move-In, which y'all will get to partake in about a month, and many other things. We work with various campus partners to ensure that everyone is aware of what is happening so that we have a coordinated planning and response effort should anything happen. Additionally, we open a command center on our Uptown campus for all of these events where we can monitor weather and what is happening at the event itself. We also monitor weather for all outdoor events and home sport games that are outdoors. Next slide, please. So New Orleans is known for a lot of things, including its summer rainstorms. And this is the time of year where it can rain every single day. We also can get pretty epic rainstorms where we can get inches of rain in almost no time at all. And sometimes those pop up on us with no warning. With this, make sure that your student brings an umbrella and maybe even rain boots and a raincoat. I mentioned that yesterday we did our boil water inventory of bottled water, and we knew it was going to rain. We expected our inventory to take 30 minutes. It took 2 hours, and in the middle of it, a downpour came upon us, and the brilliant emergency preparedness team at Tulane wound up soaking wet outdoors. So that was one of our bright shining moments that we thoroughly will be taking lessons away from, like take your umbrellas with you. When it's flooding and raining, do not drive through flooded waters. That's something that, while we know first year students can't have cars, when they are upperclassmen, and if you choose to let them bring a car, remind them of that. If they are riding with friends who have cars and they start seeing flooded streets, avoid those. Do not drive through them. Students can also report street flooding that's on campus or on the surrounding area from campus to TUPD by calling those non-alert numbers, or they can submit a tip through the EVERBRIDGE app as well. And then if we see flooding on campus, which isn't, unheard of, it does happen. We do not automatically cancel classes, but your students should communicate with their professors if they feel like they cannot make it to class because there is too much flooding. Next slide, please. We also monitor for tornadoes. So through our weather partners at AccuWeather, we monitor weather within our area. So in the picture on your screen, the blue box in the middle is our Uptown campus, and the light blue ring around it is our 5-mile radius. The middle blue ring is our 8-mile radius, and then the outer is our 15-mile radius. When a tornado warning is issued by the National Weather Service, it is for the greater New Orleans area. However, AccuWeather will email and text Donald and me to let us know if the tornado warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service is approaching or within our 5-mile radius. If that warning is going to be within 5 miles of our campus, we will send a TU alert with instructions for people to remain inside or seek shelter in the nearest building. Definitely everyone should move away from doors and windows and remain in that safe place until we send an all clear. And an example of what our TU alerts look like are also on the screen. So you can see the initial message and then the all clear. Next slide, please. So other emergencies. So we prepare for all hazards. We cannot predict everything that will happen, though we try very hard to. So we want to make sure that all of our plans are flexible and scalable to be able to fit whatever is in front of us and whatever is occurring. Our number one goal, and the reason that we come to work, is to protect the life safety of our students, faculty, and staff. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about what could happen and how will we respond and how do we make sure that our campus community is prepared for that so that we can recover as quickly as possible.